All right. Hello, everyone. So thank you for coming to the 2018 ASUA Senate Q&A. So today we'll have all our general election senators being asked a question by our four panelists who will introduce themselves soon. So I'm just going to go through like the process. So what we're going to have is the if you're like your own college and you're the only candidate, you'll be standing here alone. And then if you have a candidate within your college, you'll both be up here. So what will happen is the person that's up next will be standing in this corner, where Emily will be as soon as yeah, there you go. You'll be standing in this corner, so you'll be ready to come on in. And if there's two candidates for the position, you'll stand on either side of the podium. And then if you're not the one talking, if you could just step like a couple steps back so we don't like hear you breathing into the mic or anything. And then how it'll work is that you will have 1 minute to speak about your platforms, and then you'll get 4 questions from our panelists, and then you'll have 1 minute to reply. So in total, you should be up here for hopefully 5 minutes.
When there's two of them, do they each get 4 questions, or do we limit 4 to split? Like the same question gets answered by each?
They will both get 4 questions. Yeah. You'll probably, so if you have like a contester for your position, you'll probably get asked at least one like specific platform question. So expect at least one question to be about your platform, and then the other questions are more generic about the senator position. And then once we'll go through all the questions, each will have an opportunity to speak, and then after that, we'll close on out. So without further ado, we'll have our panelists introduce themselves.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is David McGarry, and I am the current Executive Vice President for ASUA.
Hello, my name is Lorenzo Johnson. I'm the current Administrative Vice President.
Hi, I'm Chaney. I'm the current Senator for the College of Education. Hi, guys. I'm Erin Thompson. I'm the Senator of College Letters, Arts, and Sciences.
Perfect. And so we yield to the applicant for the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences.
Oh, okay, so I start. All right. So my platforms this year include expanding campus pantry so that it's open twice a week. Right now it's open once on Friday from 11 to 1. And then my other part of my platform is to collaborate with clubs and CALs.
Okay, thank you. So after hearing what you said now and reading a little bit of your bio, a lot of the support you mentioned for the campus pantry involves fiscal support. After speaking with the director of that department, she mentioned one of their big needs is also within actual having bodies behind the scenes for inventory. And until they have that kind of support, they don't know if they'll be able to. So how do you think you can offer that support for the campus pantry?
Okay, yes. So I think to expand Campus Pantry, you have to have the donations and you have to have the volunteers behind it. And so I think that if there was more organized ways to sign up the volunteers, then those volunteers could be expanded along with senators maybe doing their outside office hours within Campus Pantry.
So your next question is, how will you work to connect your college and ASUA?
Okay, so I just joined the Ag Student Council, and they have club presidents sit in on these meetings, so I can kind of disseminate information among them to go out to the whole entire college.
As the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences Senator, you would work on initiatives that affect our student body. How do you plan on raising awareness about ASUA?
All right, so again, I feel like it all starts with people being involved, and we're looking into having at the beginning of the year kind of a thing during UA Clicks where all the clubs and CALs are there and present, and I can have ASUA have a table there so that they can talk about all the different programs that they offer. Just as an example.
So one of the key roles as a senator is to sit on university-wide committees. How are you going to make sure these needs of students are heard and addressed when surrounded by high-ranking U of A faculty and staff?
Okay, so, um, well, we have office hours for a reason, and that's for students to come. So I think that's where we can hear a lot of those student ideas. And so I think that starting that, we kind of have to advertise our office hours better, because personally, no one came to my office hours this year. And I think that if each one of us did that, then we could have the student voices heard more.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And quick point of information, I'm going to be standing here and I'll be giving you cues for time.
Okay.
But you're
Can I
good to
take
go.
this off by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just get to hold it. And okay, hi everyone. I'm Madeline Melichar. I'm currently a junior here at the University of Arizona. I'm running for the College of Engineering spot. I'm running on the platform not only to represent the students of College of Engineering, but the student body as a whole. I'd really like to see an increased impact of STEM in our community, whether that's TED Talks that really focus on like innovating and like what needs to move forward with the job market. Also just working on sustainability, I have a real passion for that. So whether it's getting solar panels, we just work to improve the bike share program. So I think it's a great way to like give back to students.
Perfect, thank you. So you did actually mention a little bit about those projects involving your environmental impact, but do you have any actionable items that you think you can kind of roll over into next year, and how you plan on implementing those as a senator?
Yeah, so this year I was fortunate enough to serve on the Green Fund, so I think that's a great way for us to get students money from their tuition fees and put it into environmental and sustainability projects here on campus. So I think it'd be really cool if we really like made that big step to be like ASU and get solar panels, because ENR2 is totally set up for solar panels, but we don't have them. I think it's a great way to really like incorporate students so that they can, see how they impact our energy usage, and then just like how they work in real life. Also just going on with like bike share. I think it's a great way to increase like a healthy lifestyle on campus and like save students money transferring to school from home.
Hi, Maddie. So in what way do you plan on engaging students and being involved as an ASUA senator?
So I think it's really important to connect to them on what they do. So like being from the College of Engineering, you're interacting with students who are part of like a lot of science classes, a lot of mathematics classes, but I think being a college-specific senator doesn't just mean representing that college, it's more students in a broad scope. So, connecting to a student who's in like the College of Agriculture and Life Science or like the College of Eller. So it's kind of like connecting to them, and I think clubs is a really great way to do that, because it's not just like one type of person in a club, it's a mix. So I think like really encouraging like ASUA involvement in clubs is great.
Awesome. Being a returning senator, how do you plan to fight the stigma of a lack of accountability surrounding Senate?
That's a really good question, actually. I think going back to what Katie said, office hours are a huge thing, so I would really like if it became more of a thing where we're out in the open so students know about it, or if we're doing a hands-on activity like working in campus pantry, it's something that we're held accountable for. Volunteering would be really great, because that's kind of like our office hours. I think like really getting out there what we're doing so students know, so whether that's through the daily Wildcat or just social media, I think would be really great, because then students are seeing, like what we're actually doing, what they could do. So then, when it comes time to like turn over the next year, we get more people wanting to run in Senate and do a position.
Awesome. So for a Senate class to be truly successful, they have to be able to communicate and collaborate effectively. What role would you take within your Senate class to ensure the entire group is representing the student body in the best way possible?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. So I think it's really important to have order, but yet let everyone's voices be heard, because we all come from like huge different demographic backgrounds, which is great. So we all have our own point to add. But if everyone's talking all at once, everyone's putting in their opinion, it's going to get messy. So I think really having order and like setting it, the tone of the topic is really great. We get a lot of different people in Senate meetings, you know, whether it's like asking for funding, doing presentations, or just talking about something that's going on campus. So I think, you know, knowing how to communicate with them as well is a big thing. So I think really getting that training, so like safe zone training we've talked a lot about, so I think something that would be really great. But yeah, it's definitely just like a whole melting pot of people, and you just gotta like work with everyone and who they are. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. You can go. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No, you're
Once you start speaking.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Olivia Johnson. I'm a second semester student in the BSN program in the College of Nursing. I'm currently an at-large sender, and I'm so honored to be running for sender for College of Nursing. As a nursing student, I know how important it is to be involved with the college itself, but also to be able to build relationships with your fellow students, your fellow faculty, and then also the other colleges that neighbor us on the Arizona Health Sciences Center. And one way we can do this is by creating greater involvement and engagement opportunities for students that are not only in our college, but also on our neighboring college as well. This could be something through the nursing pantry. It's kind of like campus pantry, but it's run by our faculty at the College of Nursing. They start it, and they also fill it with all the foods that are accessible for all of our students and faculty. And so the only problem is that for this program to really grow, we need greater student support and involvement. And so this is one way that we can really strengthen and grow our community. Thank you.
Thank you. So you talk a lot about building a community in that health sciences center a little bit northeast of campus. How do you plan to actually bridge the gap from that health campus and the main campus and beginning to work with University of Arizona as a whole?
Right. I think there's definitely a lack of communication. I think there's a lot of programs here that a lot of students could be getting involved with that kind of coincide, like health-related ones. Also, there's programs over there that students become involved with. So I think one way in that I've kind of realized this is like we have a pantry over there, we have a pantry over here. So I think it's one area where we could really have collaboration that's missing. And I think it's one way of just like getting it to work together better, is finding projects that have commonality.
How will you work to unite your college and represent their interests?
Yeah, so I think the College of Nursing is kind of funky in that we have pre-nursing and nursing students. So a lot of us don't really know each other outside of our 54 cohort. So I think it's really important to grow both our pre-nursing and our nursing clubs and possibly grow like the relationship between them, because I know that's really the only way that you get to know people outside of your cohort. So just greater support for those clubs.
ASUA is home to 13 programs and services. Have you put any thought into how you would support them from your Senate seat?
Yeah, I think one way that I've kind of learned is like the pantry I mentioned is I've gotten really interested in the pantry we have at nursing, so I think that taking a greater role in the campus pantry we have here. Also, with just the different programs, I think we have a lot of, I know like the Iron Cats, we have like those programs that are put on, and so those definitely have like a health focus that I think a lot of students on the Arizona Health Sciences Center would love to become involved with.
We have such a large and diverse student body here at the U of A. How will you ensure that you represent the voice of all corners of the campus?
So I think a really important thing is that if we're not knowledgeable of really the opinions or the needs of those students, is having them either like going to them or having them talk at our meetings. I know at our meeting yesterday we had DACA, and it was really eye-opening to really like hear their like opinions on things and what their needs are. So it's just if you have that lack of knowledge, not filling it in like on what you think, but really like getting the knowledge of what they actually need.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. And then next we'll have our two College of Science candidates. And then we'll have,
Okay. Can I good?
yes.
Okay. Hello, my name is Joseph Montoya. I'm one of the candidates for the College of Science, and I'm going to walk you through my 4 platforms very quickly. So my first platform is reaffirming our commitment to extension at the University of Arizona. You know, we are a land-grant university, so our three priorities are research, education, and extension. The College of Extension has sadly gone away now, and it's all run through CALS, but I feel like the College of Science could be a strong vector for some increased extension efforts in the community. My second platform is to use ASUA funding and influence to improve programs like UROC and UBURP that are focused around diversity in the College of Science and STEM fields. And my third platform would be to improve interdisciplinary awareness for College of Science students for programs in colleges like CALS, specifically like seminar series that they hold to kind of inform students of different research and programs involved in other colleges that can also benefit them. And my fourth platform is sort of to improve knowledge of ASUA, the inner workings, and specifically what specific positions in ASUA do, so that students can be more involved.
And our next candidate.
I'm Ashton, and I have 3 platforms. My first platform is free tutoring. My second platform is free printing. And my third platform is better computer labs, or more computers in the computer labs.
Perfect. So thank you both for introducing yourselves. I'm going to just go on ahead and start with Joseph. Okay. So you talked about this improving the interdisciplinary awareness of programs, but one of the issues that we've noticed as we've kind of talked about this internally is getting that like awareness into the other colleges. So even though what the College of Sciences is doing is cool to you, how do you make sure like a member of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences not only knows but is excited about it?
Well, I think the first step is talking to the senators of that colleges, because we're supposed to be the student representatives. And obviously, like, the way I found out about these different seminar series was I was in a gen ed with a professor from CALS, and he sort of opened that door to me, and I enjoyed it so much, and I was wondering why I wasn't informed about this as a student in the College of Science. And so I feel like speaking to other students and getting the connections they have with their professors and the people they already know in their colleges is the first step towards understanding what programs are beneficial to the College of Science and what programs like students like myself would want to know about, so that I can then relay that information to the rest of the student body of the College of Science.
Thank you. And then Ashin, I have a question for you. So I believe you lasered them off kind of quick, but one of your platforms is about increased tutoring or free tutoring?
Free tutoring.
Okay, so how do you plan on getting the resources needed to be able to have free tutoring, especially in complex like topics from the College of Science?
So there's a lot of Greek organizations which require community service hours, and there is also many Greek organizations which specialize in science. Like there's like an engineering fraternity, there's like an engineering STEM sorority. So I feel like if we make those sororities and fraternities have mandatory hours for community service, one of them just could be just tutoring kids who are like struggling in their classes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be the same question that goes to both of you. And every year, Senate is given a budget of approximately $15,000 to give where they see fits. How do you both, or how will you guys manage those funds and determine what is a priority?
Well, my priority for funding would be for those programs I mentioned, UROC and UBURP, the Undergraduate Research and Opportunities Consortium, which is diversity-based, and then the Undergraduate Biology Research Program. I think the two working in tandem can create some positive change for both increased diversity in the STEM field and increased research opportunities for students in the College of Science. So I would try and appropriate portions of that budget towards those initiatives while also using just general influence to push my other 3 initiatives.
I would lease 10 MacBooks for the computer science lab on Gold Simpsons on the 9th floor with $800, and the rest of the money I would use for printing.
This question is for both of you. How do your experiences as a student in the College of Science translate valuably to your Senate seat?
Ashin will go first this time.
So my first semester at U of A, I took a Java class. I had no experience with programming, and I thought that was really hard. And something that would really help me is if I had free tutoring from like a junior, because I don't know if you know, our first semester, just like we're out of college, it's like we have so much freedom. It's really easy to like not try hard in class. But if we had like free tutoring, which was like in Bear Down Camp or Bear Down Gym, it's like if we had access to that, I feel like it would help us a lot. And that's why one of my main platforms is free tutoring.
Well, obviously, I haven't had too much time in the College of Science yet. I'm a freshman in my second semester. But speaking a little bit like beforehand in college, or before college in high school, one of my teachers was a university student here, and she had come to the College of Science, and her experience was sort of, and like her speaking on it to me was kind of what drove me to the career field I'm in now. And so I feel like trying to replicate that through outreach programs to other high school students became a very important goal to me, and just outreach into the community in general. My love of science was sparked by a former U of A student, and so I would like to participate and improve awareness for programs that can spark that same interest in students that haven't come here yet and students that are here looking for a major.
Awesome, thank you. So this is, again, for both of you guys. So there's a lot of collaboration between other senators in Senate. So how will you work with other college-specific senators that are focused with just one college to consider the rest of the student body?
Joseph first.
Okay. Well, I touched on this a little bit in my platforms, but talking about that interdisciplinary awareness, I think it's very important to work with other senators, like specifically senators like Cal's, Public Health, Medicine, to get or increase awareness for myself first for programs that I would be interested in as a student in the College of Science, and then being able to relay that information to other students, because obviously I don't have as much of a knowledge of those colleges as those senators will, and so they're the best resource to tap to raise awareness for students that would even have less access to that information than myself.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to work with the agriculture and life science senator and the STEM senator, and then like in the beginning when they do like in around May or June when they have like their when like incoming freshmen come to like learn about their major, I'd like to have like a discussion with them talking about career opportunities and like internships they can do. Like I have parents that work in the tech industry. I can have my dad's like companies come through here and like talk about like what they need to do or what GPAs they need to get a job there in the near future.
All right, thank you both. Up next, we have our two candidates from social and behavioral sciences.
All right. My name is Bennett Adamson. My platforms largely focus on sort of expanding upon the SBS strategic plan that was proposed for 2013-2017. A lot of the objectives were not accomplished, and so I want to sort of push the envelope there. Beginning with, I want to start an SBS-specific club fair. SBS is a large college. I think it would be useful to have students be exposed to the clubs, specifically within their majors, within their college. I also want to increase professional development opportunities. I want to collaborate with the Office of Student Engagement to accomplish that. I want to implement a peer-to-peer course on networking and soft skills. SGPP does this, but I think it could go SBS-wide. And finally, I want to work with the Honors College to start a first-year honors program similar to Eller Elite.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Roshak. I'm running for the senator position for the College of Behavioral Sciences, and my primary platform concerns campus infrastructure. And that could be new outlets, new learning spaces. There's a lot of, within SBS infrastructure, there's a lot of unused or ineffectively used space that could be turned into new workspaces, new study lounges to clear up some of the traffic that we see at the 17 libraries that we have around campus. That extends also to sustainability. Some of the other senators mentioned increasing campus sustainability, and I don't see why that couldn't extend to the College of SBS as well. And finally, I'd like to foster, in the senator position, more conversation with the students regarding political discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we are going to start with Senator-elect Adamson, or potential senator. So as you mentioned, the new strategic plan the strategic plan you mentioned started in 2013 and ended 2017. And with President Robbins coming in, he actually started another round of strategic planning moving forward. So that may look differently. How are you going to be able to make sure that those professional development opportunities, things you discussed in your platforms, are going to continue to be a priority for this next administration?
No, exactly right. Yeah, President Robbins, I think, has already done a remarkable job of sort of setting a new course for the University of Arizona. I think SBS, as one of the largest colleges, can uniquely position itself to really further the mission that President Robbins has in mind. So you're right. I talked about those initiatives from the previous strategic plan. Many of those didn't get implemented, and so in this new strategic plan, we can sort of continue the work that started then. But again, I think a lot of what needs to be done is sort of placing, resources within the college in the right place, facilitating discussions, and sort of enabling SBS as the people college to really take a leading role in that new strategic plan.
And now a question for candidate Roshak. I remember the word that I needed. So how do you plan on raising funds needed to do that kind of infrastructural change when the university is already on a deferred maintenance program?
Okay, sure. So there are budgets and there are funds out there. There's actually an office called the Office of Space Planning and Management that is allotted a certain budget every year. This is an office with deans, with professional individuals whose job it is to ensure that every inch of campus is used effectively as far as space is concerned. And it would be part of my platform to divert that in a big way towards SBS, those funds.
So this is for both of you. As both of you mentioned, your college is really big, so how are you guys going to work to get all your students and your whole college connected to ASUA?
Candidate Eric will go first.
Sure. So, like I said, part of my platform is communication. I'm in the ROTC Army program here, and we, if there's one thing well that we do, it's communicate. And I'm going to carry that into the office of the Senate. Like I said, I'm going to hold extra office hours to discuss political topics because I think that's an important part of being, even at the university Senate level, is to get an understanding of what the students think of what's going on in Tucson, in the United States, and in the world. And kind of using that information to better tailor the budgets, the resolutions, and the things that will be passed in the Senate. Furthermore, it's part of my platform to keep that campaign spirit after the election's already over.
So, I'm of the opinion that campaigning should not end when you win your seat. So I would want to be very actively engaged in going out to SBS classrooms, speaking to academic, really getting my face out there as the representative for the college, so that students, through various avenues, become aware. Emails sent out through listservs, whether that's speaking in front of some of the larger classes, some of the introductory gen eds and stuff where you have several hundred students in a room, but really sort of using, I guess you'd call it like an internal marketing kind of campaign to really make students aware of and what ASUA is all about. And I don't think that's something that needs to stay within SBS. I think sort of at the sort of what ASUA does is a little bit opaque and awareness about ASUA.
Quick thing, just step a tad closer into the mic when you guys speak.
Awesome. So for the first question that I have, Senator Candidate Roshak, a lot of sustainability issues are addressed by Students for Sustainability, one of the ASUA programs. What unique aspects would you bring to your Senate seat addressing those issues?
Sure. Well, following with the platform trend, it'll be heavily infrastructure based because a lot of sustainability requires this infrastructure. I think it was brought up that ASU has a certain recycling program that a lot of students have been bringing up that we may be able to implement here, and that has a lot to do with infrastructure. Solar panels, almost entirely infrastructure, and that's something that would relate to the platform and something that I would make sure is heard and made done in the Senate.
Thank you. And Senator Candidate Adamson, How would your experiences as an SBS student translate into your Senate seat?
Sure. Well, I think, within SBS, so much of what students focus on is, careers that can, or, working towards a career that can impact, every facet of sort of public life, right? So a lot of students are political science or economics or things where they want to go into some sort of service. So I think it makes sense that would dovetail with representation in student government. For me specifically, from a PPEL background, I like to sort of think about things from as many perspectives as possible. And so I would want to sort of take an interdisciplinary approach to the Senate seat and really try and work on problems from all angles.
Awesome, thank you. So to be truly successful, what would you take on within your group is representing the student body to the best of its ability?
Bennett. Sorry, I was going to say your last name, and then I didn't. Bennett, so you can go first.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So again, sort of interdisciplinarity is important. I potentially will be one of 13 other college-specific senators. So I think a lot of it would be reaching out to those other representatives, seeing what they're working on, seeing where there's room for collaboration, seeing where there's overlap, and then trying to sort of put resources together and then facilitate things in that manner. But more broadly, I think it just comes down to really working with as many different people as you can, program coordinators, whatever it is, to get things done.
Let's see, great points. Again, with the overlap, we are the people college. So there's people in every college. SBS just happens to be able to overlap and facilitate a lot of that, a lot of those going on. So again, it's connecting with those orgs, connecting with cultural centers, connecting with interdisciplinary organizations to communicate and really, make stuff happen. To really, no kidding, this is what we want, this is what they want, and find that compromise, and then find the means and the money to get it done.
Thank you. Now we have our two candidates from the College of Eller.
Do you want me to go first?
So Khenda, you can go first.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hi guys, my name is Khenda McIntee and I'm running for the ASUA Eller Senate position. I am a marketing major and MIS major with a minors in communication and global business. My three platforms revolve around three foundations, which is communication, involvement, and improvement. I want to create a better communication between ASUA and Eller. I want to facilitate a more involved Eller student body with ASUA. And lastly, I want to improve the global business minor program by offering more international business classes within Eller. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Mendoza. I'm running for the ASUA Eller Senator. My biggest three platforms would be first, club involvement. So everybody in Eller is involved in Eller clubs, and I would really like to see funding being pushed for that. Specifically, make clubs more aware of ESEF funding. It's already there, clubs aren't utilizing it. My second thing for clubs would be to utilize the lockers downstairs for club storage, extra t-shirts that may be a burden for e-boards to pass on from one to the next and make it easily accessible. My second biggest thing would be to work on the global program, specifically making those classes abroad really happen, because once you're in Eller, it gets a little bit difficult for you to actually take a whole semester off. My last big push would be to change the environment downstairs to a more warm, welcoming environment so that we can foster engagement in those classes, specifically putting outlets in the front of the room so that students are more inclined to sit in the front of those classes and really pay attention to their professors. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will start with candidate McIntee.
Yes.
So you kind of mentioned a lot of your program or platforms, revolve around club involvement and club communication. And in your bio, you do talk a little bit about the frustration. I was just looking to see if you had some insight. You mentioned both an app or a new website, and how you think a new format would actually help facilitate that communication to be better.
Thank you for that question. Well, so with ASUA communications with Eller, funding is actually really hard, and some say that the website for ASUA is a little difficult to navigate, so making that website a little more user-friendly for Eller students and just for other students. And that would just help with the process of trying to communicate. Also, if I were to be elected, I would personally, be the liaison between Eller and ASUA. And so, clubs can come up to me and just tell me, hey, I have this problem, I want to talk to you, and I can relay that information to ASUA. Thank you.
And then candidate Mendoza, you talked about making sure that clubs within Eller are aware of the internal funding sources within Eller. One thing we've noticed within the ASUA appropriations, which does the kind of same thing at the student body level, is that's the clubs that are larger and that know about this resource that continue to pull a little bit more out of that same resource. So what would you do to make sure that the smaller clubs are still getting those resources and have that same availability as the larger clubs?
Definitely, and I agree with you. So to really make awareness amongst those smaller clubs, I've already been talking to them, but however, we have monthly meetings at FISO for the Eller colleges, but to make them more aware of that funding by making presentations for that, as well as ASUA and making them more aware of ASUA funding that is available for them. Those big clubs can really model for the smaller clubs what they need to be doing to be that successful and get that funding. So I would really like to foster some club collaboration. Thank you.
So this is for both of you. How will you guys work to connect your college and ASUA?
Candidate Mendoza will go first.
Great. I believe that's a really good question as well because we are known as Eller Island sometimes. So really being able to make the website links directly to FISO websites as well, so the access is still there, and also going around to each club individually and making them aware of what ASUA does. I think it would be very important because we are kind of separated, I believe, so I believe that fostering that engagement and also working with other senators to promote some of their programs as well, because a lot of people are involved in Eller programs but not general programs.
So for what I would do is to inform Eller students through email. As a business student, emails is like our pot of gold. We always check that every single day or every minute of the day. So sending emails regarding ASUA programs, jobs, anything, activities, doing through an email blast, because as a business student, I get a bunch of emails for internships and all that. So just having that email campaign, I suppose, that would really help inform Eller students. Also, the PDC, which is the kind of the development center at Eller, we have like TVs, and so posting that on there, like a bunch of ASUA events, hey, this is what's happening during ASUA, just having that up there so Eller students can see that and be informed. Thank you.
Awesome. My question is for both candidates. Could you please describe one thing you wish you knew as a pre-business student and how you would disseminate that information to current pre-business students?
Candidate McIntee first.
That is an amazing question. So, as a pre-business student, a lot of information was relayed, but not onto like the type of classes we were going to take and the type of Eller format, or just like how hard Eller would actually be. I mean, you kind of know, like, there's always like these rumors like, oh, Eller is going to be hell, but you don't really know for sure. And so being able to sit in one-on-one with a junior and a sophomore, a freshman, and actually be real with them, don't scare them, I sat down with some people and they kind of scared me. I'm like, oh gosh, Eller is going to be scary, but just being able to sit down and kind of be real with them and not to make it so scary. So, yeah, thank you.
I would also agree, as a pre-business student, I was a little bit nervous as to applying and what the situation was for me transitioning from pre-business to an actual marketing student. I, as Vice President of Membership for the Professional Women in Business Association, have implemented a mentorship program within our club, and I would like to see that implemented more Eller-wide because I think that it's been beneficial for not only the older members, but also the younger members as well. And my mentees come back every semester telling me how much that I've helped them personally. So I would like to implement that in the PDC as volunteering hours for those juniors and seniors to really sit down one-on-one with the sophomores and freshmen and tell them what it's like in their shoes. Thank you.
So, like both of you guys said, Eller does have that stigma of being very exclusive and like having that Eller Island. Have you guys ever thought of the idea of having the rest of the University of Arizona being able to grab a minor from Eller that they are not like already have to be accepted into Eller? And how would you guys implement that and put it out?
Candidate Mendoza first.
Great. Well, so there are already some minors that you don't have to be a business student, but really raising awareness for that probably through maybe a mini club fair for Eller, but for students who aren't in business that specifically want to pursue business minors. Additionally, I don't know where I was going with that. My apologies. But really getting that out there, and there are also diversity and inclusion events that Eller holds that we could put out to ASUA and the rest of the colleges if they would like to join us and get more aware of what Eller really does.
I agree with Michelle. We do have minors that non-Eller students can actually take. And be able to relay the information would be through email campaigns, being able to go onto this, the mall when there's like club fairs, have like a little Eller stand where, hey, you don't have to be an Eller to be to get this type of minors. You can also study abroad and not be an Eller and grab that minor. Thank you.
And up next, our candidate from Public Health.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Sedona Lynch, and I am currently running for the college senator position for the College of Public Health. So my platforms basically focus on safety, healthness, and well-being of our student population. So my first platform focuses more on students in the residence halls to ensure that marginalized communities, whether people of color or the LGBT plus community, are feeling safe, are feeling comfortable in those dorms. And I want to do that by including various programs that both RAs and students can be a part of in order to improve safety and comfort. I also want to focus on victims of sexual assault here at the university by increasing victim advocate funds, whether that can be used by CAPS or the cultural centers to essentially hire on therapists and counselors that specialize in sexual assault and trauma. And lastly, I do want to focus on the overall health and well-being of students, and that is by increasing access to health care at Campus Health for those who have access or no insurance.
Thank you.
Thank you. So one of the methods you mentioned in order to kind of advocate for the students and get them the resources they need was training or additional counselors within CAPS. So one of the issues that we've seen this year is CAPS not only is struggling to get the funds, but also to have the space to be able to do these kind of services. So have you thought about that at all, and have any approaches to be able to fix that issue?
Yes, I've definitely thought about that, and I believe that one of the more valuable assets that the university is starting to look at is the cultural centers and implementing counselors there, because a lot of students do feel more comfortable going to their cultural center and being able to essentially work or rest in that environment, because there's already been a set of trusts built within that. So definitely bringing in counselors to work in those centers as well. And then in terms of gathering resources, I believe that we could do that in terms of crowdsourcing, fundraising, and as well as speaking with Campus Health and working out different financial measures that can get this done.
How do you plan to work to connect your college and ASUA?
How I want to connect my college and ASUA is definitely bridging that gap between what is going on in ASUA and with this having this regular student population know what's going on, because there is that big disconnect. And so what I want to do is work with the advising centers in the College of Public Health, work with various clubs and organizations that connect within public health itself, so that information about what we are doing in ASUA, what types of resources that we are able to offer these different clubs and organizations and the students in general through those methods, essentially.
Typically, when about halfway through senators' terms, they tend to hit a wall when their platforms get difficult. How will you work to stay engaged in your platforms when you hear no?
I want to work to stay engaged with my platforms, especially if I do end up hitting a wall, is holding myself accountable, holding myself to the promises that I have made to the students of my college. And one way that I want to do that is by increasing the relationship between myself as well as other senators in ASUA and within the various clubs, organizations, and cultural centers that I am working with trying to help. I want to ensure that there is accountability, and that if there is a wall in the way, that we can look at other options instead of just being like, okay, I'm done. I want to be able to see what various opportunities and options that are able to improve a situation that seems bleak.
So you've said that you want to work with like diversity centers across the University of Arizona. So how will you ensure that you will represent the voice of?
In order to include the voices of the people across campuses, I do want to build a dialogue within various leaders in the cultural centers, different clubs and organizations, so that I know exactly what is going on in their club, their specific needs, and so that I can be able to relay that. And honestly, it is just building that relationship and having them be in constant communication with me so that I know exactly what is going on, so what I can actually bring up to the Senate, to the rest of the university.
Thank you. And now we have our first of 5 at-large candidates.
Hi, I'm Tara, and I'm running for at-large Senate, obviously. So my platform is entirely based on involvement and getting students involved here on campus from the minute that they come to orientation to their graduation day. For me, involvement has been super important in my college experience so far, and I was surprised to see that people in my grade and above were not as involved, or didn't feel that they had the ability to get involved. So for me, involvement is super important, and I think that it can have a lot of great effects. One of those is increasing our retention rate and how we keep students, which is really important to how our university looks internationally and nationally. Another one of those is raising our GPA and people willing to keep going to class and keeping their grades up. And finally, the most important one for me is mental health, and getting people involved will really help with some of the issues that plague our students with mental health, depression, and anxiety. Thank you.
Thank you. So you do talk a lot about involvement, but I was curious if you have any specific actionable items to be able to get people to find their path and how to be involved on campus.
Okay, so I want to create and build on our current system for how students can find organizations. I did a lot of research and attempted to find organizations myself, and a lot of that was kind of difficult and not super accessible through different websites, and it's just kind of very, very bleak. I also think that we always really advertise our 600 plus clubs and all that they can do for our students, and the wide variety of students that can access them. But I also think that it's hard to get to know a club, and if you're really going to be interested in it, by just reading a little paragraph on a website. So I want to create a system that helps better match people to organizations that they could potentially be involved in, and give them a contact point, not of the president or somebody that's kind of higher up in the organization, but of a general member who can really speak to what the club does and what the experience can do for them.
You also talked about raising students' GPAs, correct me if I'm wrong. How do you plan on doing that, since we have such a big student body? What are you going to do?
Okay, so GPA is kind of an effect of raising involvement. So I found in high school that people who were more involved were more likely to be participating in class and interested in coming to school. And while there's kind of this argument that being in clubs and being a part of organizations will actually lower the amount of time that students have to study, the contrary is actually true. So it's actually better for students to be involved because they learn better time management skills, and they're also more invited into the school environment. So instead of viewing it as kind of a place where they have to be afraid and come to work, they can actually be interested in their classes and what they're doing.
Thank you. Following up on David's question, how do you plan on ensuring the clubs will have a liaison to meet one-on-one with every potentially interested person?
So I think that the resources that the clubs have to reach out to students is a lot stronger than the ones that students have to reach out to clubs. So I think that if students, I think that the goal of all clubs is to increase the diversity in the group that like they're recruiting and the strength of their organization. And I think that it would be really easy for them to take advantage of an opportunity to be able to have a broader pool of students to recruit from. So I think that by raising awareness about my platform and the system that I want to create, that they would jump at the ability to take advantage of that and reach out to students in that way.
Awesome. So I know that President Robbins' new strategic plan, he wants to have the retention rate of students higher up. In what ways do you plan on keeping students within their first or second year here at the university, specifically?
Okay, so that was like something that when I researched it, I was really surprised to find that we do have the lowest retention rate in the Pac-12. That being said, it's rather high when you look at the national average, but I think that a lot of the problem, and from people that I've heard that are either questioning coming back or looking at community college options or transferring, a lot of it is not feeling that sense of home here on campus. And to me, that is what involvement is, and that's what it's created for me. It's that feeling that whether you live 40 minutes away or 4,000 miles away, that you can find something here that connects you to the campus and makes you want to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Kelly Dorney and I'm a current sophomore here. So my platforms are founded on inclusive excellence. I've realized a lot of our diversity centers don't have the funds that they need, they don't have access to adequate space, and additionally, trainings like Safe Zone aren't being distributed to areas of campus like Greek life in the way that I think they could be. Additionally, our student body is more than 40,000 students large, and because of that, we have a diversity of programs that the U of A can provide for us. So I want to make sure that students are not only aware of those programs, but feel confident in joining them. So we have that diversity.
Thank you. So one of the things you did mention in your little elevator speech was that we do have like tools out there such as Safe Zone training and other like cultural competency trainings. But how are you going to be able to make sure that not only are students aware that these tools exist, but that they're actually going to participate and get those kind of trainings to be able to develop?
So some of them are already required. For example, last year during recruitment counselors were supposed to participate in Safe Zone training, which is cultural competency training that's aimed to shift our campus's climate to be more inclusive through education. And I think that moving trainings like this online would increase their availability so that more students were able to participate in them. So yeah, putting this on an online platform, and a lot of our diversity centers have already been working towards this and giving them the resources they need to continue their efforts is what I see as being the best means to do that.
You talk about having the students be confident in order to go to those programs, so how are you going to promote and boost up their confidence to feel like they can get involved and go to those meetings and programs?
Well, going off this idea of shifting our campus's climate to be inclusive, I think that championing programs that support diversity is the first step in doing that. I think that supporting these clubs will make small steps towards this shift, and I think that our student body is already ready for this shift. You can see it in the number of students running on diversity platforms in ASUA, and so I think that supporting these platforms will make our campus inclusive in a way that will allow students to participate in programs.
ASUA has 13 programs and services that address a diverse set of issues. How do you plan on supporting them from the at-large Senate seat?
Well, my background is reporting for the Daily Wildcat, and as a reporter, they ask you, is this newsworthy? And I think that through this, I've become keenly aware of spotting stories and listening to the voices of students. So if elected to a Senate seat, I think that I would be good at listening to the concerns and the needs of all 13 of these of these programs, and balancing these needs together.
Since you represent the entire student body, what is an effective way to communicate with all of them?
Well, I'm talking about this diversity, and I'm talking about it with a 40,000 student plus population. So it's really difficult to hear the needs of every single one of these students, but I think that creating programs that will support each student's need is of the utmost importance. I know that I came to the U of A because it had programs that were in niche fields like PPEL, which is what I'm doing, and I think that supporting these programs so that any student can be successful with whatever they're doing is the only way to really make sure that every student voice is heard.
Thank you.
Alrighty, how's it going? I'm Matt, I'm a sophomore. Basically, my platforms are four multifaceted. My first one being sexual violence victim advocacy. I think it's important as a university we work on, rather than reactionary policies, more of policies that prevent sexual violence. Another one for me, being a senator, I realized that I would be an advocate for all students, and that for me starts with looking at ways the university can continue to help our DACA recipient students. I think that's huge, especially now. Sustainability is also something very close to me. So I would want to work with Students for Sustainability, a program already involved with ASUA, to implement compost initiatives, as well as ways to limit our plastic bag use around campus, whether that be in UA bookstores, the UA unions, or just different stores across campus. And then finally, I want to look on club inclusiveness, collaboration, and funding. I think it's huge, especially with retention rates, like many candidates have already stated, especially with our LGBT members and students of color, that we're able to keep them in clubs and maybe like host town halls where clubs can collaborate and share ideas. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, 1 second. I know you are probably an active person when you speak, but if you could stand still behind the podium, it helps with the camera angles and stuff.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Thanks.
We don't want to get the back of your head as you're talking.
Okay. No worries, thank you.
Perfect. So one of the first things you mentioned was taking on an approach to preventing sexual assault on this campus. I'm curious, just a real quick, are you aware of the I Will Week initiative already within ASUA?
I am, and I do applaud that initiative under the current Matt Lubicic that he's done. For me, though, what I look at, consent talks I know are huge in the Greek community, but with 40,000 students on this campus, the Greek community aren't the only ones having sex. So I think it's important that we take the consent talks and those trainings and implement that campus-wide, rather than just requiring that for our Greek members. Yeah.
And since Senator Chaney is not able to be here right now, I'm going to get another question. So you talk about advocating for more inclusive club environment. Do you have any action items on that you think can actually make these clubs really reach out and be inclusive?
Absolutely. So as student body president of my high school, me and my PR team actually hosted town halls where we have club sponsors come each month and collaborate on ways that they can, use their resources effectively together. Because at the end of the day, we are all still university students at Arizona. So I think that'd be huge. Me being openly LGBT and a person of color, I think it's important for not only representation, but for advocacy. I think it's huge just seeing people, people like me that have the voice and the confidence and determination to speak out, I think is huge. So just getting more people elected that, fit your agenda, I think is something that can really make waves, in my opinion. So, yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So while not housed in Students for Sustainability, ComcostCast does exist in the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences. Did you have any other sustainability initiatives that you'd like to address on campus?
Yeah, absolutely. I know compost does exist in that specific college, but I think it's the duty of all colleges and all students on campus to make sure that our earth and our planet and our school is sustainable, rather than just focusing on one college. I think it'd be great to work with that senator and those representatives to expand that. And I also focused on plastic bag elimination. I know we have plastic bags in the bookstores and the unions in different stores across campus. Paper would be a great initiative or alternative to that I think we could focus on, for sure.
Awesome. So I know in your platform you talk about DACA recipients, and that's a large conversation happening around the entire nation right now. In what ways do you plan to support the DACA recipients that are here at the University of Arizona?
Yeah, absolutely. Me speaking, I'm not a DACA recipient, so it's hard for me to say on that. But as a senator, I would be that advocate. So I would want to meet with our DACA recipient students, and rather than telling them what they want, we need to listen to what they need. And so that's kind of the point of us being political candidates and political advocates, is to listen, to implement, to make that change that they need on their behalf. So, yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you very much.
All right, hello. My name is Anthony Rusk, and I'm running for one of the 3 senator-at-large positions, and I'm going to try to run through my 3 platforms as fast as we can here. So my first platform is centered around something that was created at UCLA, which is called the Economic Crisis Response Team. And essentially what that is a response team that is done by alumni at UCLA who can help students manage their money so they can make ends meet from month to month and allow them to not go down a long road that will lead them to food insecurity, home insecurity, or any sort of funding insecurity that they will see. My second platform is based around that as well. So for students who have already faced food insecurity and need to move to a more strategic and last-minute ideal. It is the Wildcat shelter, something that has already been done like this with Bruin Shelter and Y2Y at Harvard, and it is essentially a free shelter for students who are homeless or to have home insecurity, which will last for about 90 days and allow them to get back on their feet while allowing them food and free medical checkups done through the U of A Medical Center. And lastly, my last platform is done through something called the Hunger Games Food Drive, which would compete ASU versus NAU and U of A to see which school can raise the most amount of food cans which support campus pantry. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So two of your main platforms revolve around this economic crisis team and that Wildcat shelter. How do you plan on pooling together the resources needed to take on such a large initiative?
Okay, so there's two ways that this is done, and the great thing about having Harvard and UCLA to look at them is it's done in two separate ways at UCLA and at Harvard. So at UCLA, it is run as a 501c3, so it is done as a nonprofit outside of UCLA, but is still funded by UCLA through grants. So they're offered a lot of money through UCLA in grants, and in that way, and then they pull together the rest of their money through crowdsourcing and outside funding, and is also done through donations with stores that are very similar to stores that we have here at Tucson. So for example, they're funded by Whole Food Markets, which we do have here in Tucson, so it's a matter of getting all these different businesses to cooperate with us and helping the initiative and helping underprivileged students here at the U of A. As for the financial crisis response team, the way it's done at UCLA is through alumni that have come from UCLA. They help students who don't know how to do or how to budget their own money. And similarly here we have the free legal team, so this isn't something that is out of our reach. So looking at the different precedents from other colleges, we can take a cue from them and see what we need to do to make our college the most accessible for students regardless of their financial background or how privileged they are here at the University of Arizona.
So you talk about the food drive, like for all the schools and competing. Just when it comes to the University of Arizona, how are you going to get the word out? Because there has been food drives that I feel like not a lot of people knew about.
Right, so that's working with Campus Pantry, and that's part of the collaboration that we have to do is work with Campus Pantry and having more food drives, and then creating this competitive nature within U of A. It's going to have a lot more people who are like, I want to beat ASU, I want to beat NAU, because we all know that those are the two biggest competitors in the state. So working with Greek Life and working with a lot of sports teams who are just like, you know, this is my competitive nature, let's get the word out. It's collaboration and it's setting an end goal that everybody's interested in, whether it's the food drive itself or beating NAU and ASU, as ridiculous as it might seem. This is something that I did myself last year within the entire state of Arizona. So I ran it through Interact, which is a corporation under Rotary, and basically I had Interact clubs across the state compete against one another, and through that we raised 10,000 meals for the entire state of Arizona. So I have precedent, I know how to do this, so it's something that isn't out of reach either. Thank you.
Awesome. So you have some pretty challenging platforms. How will you ensure that you remain accountable throughout your Senate term?
It's the same idea for everyone. We have to remain accountable regardless of how difficult your platform is. So for myself, this is something that I'm very passionate about. Like I said in high school, these are initiatives that I've already done. These are initiatives that I'm passionate about. In high school, I also worked as a homeless student liaison. So I worked between homeless students and my own school to figure out how we could best accommodate for students there. So this is something that I'm a passionate person about. So all of this comes down to how passionate I am about what I'm doing and what I care to do for. So because of that, I believe that regardless of what happens, I plan on being accountable for myself, regardless of how many people around me carry me as accountable. And I also think this goes back to how we reach out to our students. So the giant stigma right now is we have office hours, so students need to come to us. My own professor last week was complaining about how not enough students come to his office hours. So why would we expect students to come to our office hours? So I think part of it is reaching out to the students themselves rather than asking them to reach out to us. Asking students to voice their opinions to us rather than going out and telling them it is your responsibility to come to me. Thank you.
So as a senator, there's times when we hit roadblocks, and you talk about getting funding from outsourcing, like Whole Foods, how will you be able to step over these roadblocks if Whole Foods says, no, we won't fund you?
Right, so like I said, there's a lot of different avenues that Harvard and UCLA has already taken. For example, UCLA set up a GoFundMe page, and within about a few months, they raised $20,305, something like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues that we can take. So if you hit one roadblock, it's not like the project itself is dead. We just have to move on to the next choice that we have, the next option, and not just die there, right there with our initiatives. So this is again, this is like a uniform argument for all senators. When we hit those roadblocks, we have to find different avenues that we can take to reach our end goal at the end of the day. So as myself, like I said, I'm passionate about this, so a roadblock won't stop me, and there is nothing more than I'd want to do than to help the underprivileged students here at the U of A. Again, this doesn't only just affect the some 58,000 students who are homeless across the across the United States, but there's also the 20 to 40% of them who are also LGBTQ. So because of that, we're helping not only just the 58,000, but we're helping a smaller minority within that as well, and we're creating change. So because of that, I think that regardless of the roadblock, I plan as my own senator to pass those roadblocks and find my end goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to go? Yeah. All right, so my name is Rocque Perez. I'm currently running for Senate at large. The main standing points of my campaign consists of efforts to further develop the programs, initiatives, and services under ASUA. Firstly, I would like to work with Campus Pantry to find different alternatives to funding, whether that be through different fees within our tuition, or whether utilizing different donors around campus. And as a Tucson native, I have different resources that I'm very familiar with, and being able to liaison those resources to Campus Pantry. Secondly, I'd like to carry on the bike exchange system. Current senators have worked very hard this year to build up that current bike exchange system. However, with the to-go bikes being brought onto the city of Tucson, I'd like to collaborate either with them, if haven't done so already, or utilizing those different fees that are under our tuition to bring that very same equipment onto campus. And thirdly, I'd like to reach out to prospective and current Wildcats throughout the university and advocate for the many clubs and services that ASU has to offer and the University of Arizona as a whole. So, yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So one of the kind of themes I just noticed in that little presentation was you talked about the, I guess, willingness to add fees to support certain programs and services. Focusing specifically on Campus Pantry, I was actually talking with them earlier today, and in even their own words, they consider their service more of a Band-Aid, not necessarily addressing the issue of food insecurity itself, but more like giving those students the opportunity to continue through their college career. By instating these fees, do you see the opportunity to transition into finding solutions, or are we just more worried about supporting Band-Aid?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm looking for bringing on fees for students. I'm looking to utilize fees that we as university students already pay. There's so many fees that we use, like the Green Fund and stuff like that. I mean, not in particular to Campus Pantry, but utilizing, I think it's a student activities fee, where we can go in front of students and we can request to utilize those specific funds for the purposes that students and the Student Advisory Board see fit.
In what way do you plan on engaging students and being involved as an ASUA senator?
Well, from personal experience, I think that throughout the entire course of my campaign alone, I've really advocated for ASUA, and if people weren't exactly clear on what ASUA was, I think that I took that very first step to be able to advocate for ASUA and the different programs and services and go into detail on what it has to offer. And being in freshman class council alone, I think that one of my big problems was that it was more like a fun experience. It wasn't really like a structured kind of constitutional thing where we can go out and be able to advocate for ASUA in like a proper way. And I think that my main thing was be able to do so. I don't know how to answer that question correctly. Just be myself, I guess.
Awesome. So as you know, ASUA is home to 13 different program and services, and you mentioned Campus Pantry and FCC. How will you advocate for some of the other programs and services that you mentioned in your platform?
I think that being a financially independent, someone that supports himself financially, I think that I would be able to utilize a lot of the services that ASU has to offer. I don't necessarily reach out to legal, to use the legal services and Campus Pantry alone when I could, but I think that those resources, I can definitely empathize with the students that do utilize them, as well as being a student that is part of the LGBT community. I totally understand the students that do seek out Pride Alliance, regardless of whether I utilize that service or not. I totally understand why students would, and I would definitely love to be that liaison to advocate for all of those different organizations, whether that be any of the ones that are on that fourth floor of the student union.
So running as an at-large senator, you're representing the entire student body of the university. What effective ways do you plan on communicating, not with just the students, but with the faculty and admissions and advisors?
Well, I think that kind of leads back to I think it was the first two questions. Throughout the course of my campaign, I did use a system where I did have people using a Snapchat code to sign up for basically like an email, kind of not a spam thing, but an email service where I'd reach out to those different students. However, it wasn't just students. Surprisingly, I accidentally got a couple staff in there, as well as different people throughout the university. And I think a big problem is that we don't have access to all students served through email on campus, not that I know of. So I think that being able to, something that I think that a fellow candidate used was that our campaigns shouldn't end with us earning that position. I think that they should end at the end of our term. I think that the passion that we all possess, it's like crazy, and the amount that we've been able to cover throughout the entire University of Arizona is something that I want to be able to like carry on throughout the course of my term. So.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to all our panelists tonight. Personally speaking, being a part of like the elections process for 3 years now, honestly, these were like really, really hard-hitting questions that they asked. They really took the time and took the effort, especially David, who's the EVP, who his position oversees you, took the time to look at all your platforms. There's like 17 of you. He has class and all that stuff. So I think we should give him a round of applause as well. And definitely to our two senators who could be somewhere else tonight, honestly, but they decided to like take the chance and come here and ask questions as well. I think so. They deserve another round of applause too. And lastly, definitely to Lorenzo, our administrative vice president, who is not necessarily in this branch, but is a former senator. And a lot of the platforms this year really involved the administrative branch. So I think him being here really gives a key to how he wants the new Senate to interact with the administrative branch. So he deserves another round of applause. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming and participating in this question and answer. I really appreciate the effort that everyone has been making. And a lot of the ideas, people will be able to hold you accountable to those. So we would really like to see ASUA, like, you're the next class, like you're the next step there. And you can only take us from here and take us better. We can improve every single year for everything that we do. Tomorrow is our EVP and AVP debate, and I highly, highly suggest that you attend since you are senators, and then you'll be able to see the answers that essentially your new EVP will be giving to a panel, and then also stay and watch the AVP debate, because that's a true debate, and we'll be able to sort of have two people discuss their platforms and discuss their future, the future of the administrative branch. So I thank everybody. I thank the Daily Wildcat, also our student media, for like filming this for us as well. This, I believe, should be uploaded sometime around tomorrow. They'll like need to render it and all that stuff. But thank you for coming. Have a great night. Drive home safely.